This video is just to respond to the comments of a viewer's arguments and complaints towards my reasoning for Tobirama being stronger than Minato in this video here. If you have similar complaints about any content, feel free to argue your points, and I might just have to respond. If you're enjoying this content, please like and subscribe. It's massively appreciated and means a lot to a small channel. Now let's get into defending Tobirama. So to start off with this section, I don't think Minato's Rasengan would do anything special to the God Tree. Sure, it could probably harm it some, but it's not a high speed or long range attack on its own. It's basically a buffed punch. Small attack size, meh attack potency, and definitely not on the same level as Tobirama's water style due to the scale of the attacks. A Rasen Shuriken, on the other hand, could easily deal similar if not more damage at the same scale, but a normal Rasengan? No. I mean, Minato hitting Obito with a Rasengan left him only hurt enough to retreat, and Obito isn't even regarded. It's not dishonest at all to not think highly of an incomplete jutsu. Also, comparing Hiruzen's staff isn't fair, because it's an adamantine staff, which is one of the strongest known substances in Naruto. Saying Tobirama, Minato, and Hiruzen are relative is a very strange take to have. Prime Hiruzen should be stronger than both of them, as he was stated to be the strongest Hokage in his prime in several databooks, stated to have more talent than Tobirama, stated to be the strongest in the very first chapter of the manga, and even as an old man, still regarded as the strongest of the current 5 Kage. Old Hiruzen, on the other hand, is a different story. More than likely, Minato and Tobirama are definitely relative though. However, that doesn't quite mean Minato can replicate what Tobirama does with his water style by using a Rasengan, because it just doesn't work the same. Sure, if he spammed multiple Rasengan, he could replicate what Hiruzen did, but that's not even as impressive as Tobirama's slicing of several God Tree limbs, which are several meters thick. This whole beginning is riddled with bias right off the bat. Firstly, how would Madara identify Tobirama as the fastest if it was after his fake death? Madara fake died and secluded himself before Hashirama even died. Secondly, it wouldn't be the fastest of his era if Hashirama was faster, regardless of whether or not Hashirama was alive, because it's an entire era. Tobirama is objectively faster than Hashirama and Madara. However, so is Minato. Here is where you get some warped perception of strength. Minato couldn't lay a finger on Hashirama or Madara, so saying Tobirama is weaker than them, therefore Minato wins, is like me saying Choji is weaker than Kaguya, so Kid Konohamaru can beat Jonin Choji. It's entirely lacking logic since neither of the two can do anything in this situation. And to add to the Izuna thing, Tobirama's usage of Flying Raijin Slice nearly killed Izuna, and it was one glimpse into the fight, and that's all we got. Saying he was barely able to beat him is extremely disingenuous, seeing as all we see is the end of the fight, which leads to Izuna on his deathbed and Tobirama living many years after. Additionally, Izuna was likely the second strongest Uchiha alive at the time, as well as being one of the 2 currently with the Mangekyou Sharingan, even commonly said to be Madara's equal before EMS. And Tobirama was likely the second strongest Senju alive / ever. I also think you're wanking Madara and Hashirama's speed. Neither of them are speedsters, although they are pretty fast. The Raikage is faster than both of them, easily. Sure, they can keep up, but Madara has the Sharingan to allow him to predict movements, which Sasuke used to keep up with A, and Hashirama has the sensory capabilities of Sage Mode, allowing both of them to keep up. But they're more known for their raw power, unlike Tobirama and Minato, who are speedsters. More than a handful of characters outpace Hashirama and Madara, despite being weaker. You can just see their power and think they automatically have to be faster, when it's just not the case. Speed does not equal power. Everything you're saying here makes it seem like you think power directly equates to speed, but that's far from the case. None of the Sannin are particularly fast, especially while Minato was alive. Killer B is slower than A. The 3rd Raikage is far slower than the 4th. Chiyo, Hanzo, Nagato, Kakazu, all the 5 Kage including Inoki, and a younger but still very old Hiruzen, between 40 and 50 by the time Minato is an adult, aren't speedsters at all. None of these people you listed are remotely close to competition, and are all slower than A. A is the only relevant competition, and it's a Jonin A that's compared to Minato. A superior space-time ninjutsu in the form of Kamui, as well as the predictive capabilities of the Sharingan, allowing him to fight someone like Minato who is still faster. Tobirama had just as much competition for the title as Minato. He had the first and second Raikages, who likely used similar techniques to the third and fourth, Hashirama, Madara, the first and second Mizukage, Kazekage, and Tsuchikage. These are as impressive as Minato's title, although perhaps slightly less, but regardless, Tobirama's speed is on a level in which he is capable. He's in no way, shape, or form going to be blitzed by Minato. Heck, he even has a feat where he is straight up faster than Minato. Although Minato is mentally nerfed, it can't possibly be that much considering he had KCM at the time, and it was a Shadow Clone that entirely outsped him. They are at least relative, although I do admit Minato likely has a small edge in speed. Versatility is highly important to factor in, especially when you compare two characters with such similar movesets. It makes you less predictable, meaning you can catch the opponent off guard, which is crucial in the shinobi world. I mean, we see how easily off-guard characters get hurt, from prime example being in Boruto. Shin is capable of stabbing Naruto by manipulating the blade from the hands of an ally. Naruto's amazing durability is entirely negated by this, and he gets stabbed. Not to mention, for every one technique Minato knows, Tobirama knows at least 5 more. Minato has never shown usage of any chakra nature, although he does canonically have wind, fire, and lightning release. While on the other hand, Tobirama has shown high mastery of water release. As I've gone over, he is capable of performing a highly complex jutsu that takes elite Jonin to lower Kage level shinobi over 24 hand signs to perform on a lake in just 3 without a water source, without losing the actual strength of the jutsu. Besides this, he can also use fire, wind, lightning, and earth style to unknown degrees. This means anything Minato can do, Tobirama can counter. And I believe you're forgetting something major as well. Thanks to Tobirama's speciality with water style, he has a huge advantage over Minato, who doesn't have earth style, thus incapable of having any elemental advantage on Tobirama's main jutsu style. Not to mention, when we get into actual jutsu, everything Minato does, Tobirama does more consistently within the series, and with more variety in its usage. For example, Flying Raijin. Tobirama has displayed unique techniques using this, such as the Flying Raijin Slice. Minato, on the other hand, has never shown usage of any Flying Raijin technique besides the basic transportation, and a few things that shouldn't even be considered different jutsu, but regardless, Flying Raijin is instant for both of them. Everything you're saying about the Rasengan is true, except it all has one fatal flaw. It is raw chakra, meaning it has no direct counter. But raw chakra is weaker than chakra imbued with a nature transformation. This is why Minato considered it incomplete, and he tried but failed to add chakra nature to it. Adding chakra nature objectively makes a jutsu stronger. This means for the same chakra cost, you get a stronger jutsu when you use nature transformations. So sure, since he doesn't have to sustain the same Rasengan with more chakra, it won't waste any, but if he uses it to block one jutsu or destroy one clone, not only does he have to put in more chakra than Tobirama does to block the attack, it's most likely going to destroy that Rasengan, meaning Minato would need to form another, once again using more chakra than Tobirama. All of this together means Minato has to use more chakra if he wants to try to use Rasengan against Tobirama's elemental jutsu. This is a really bad situation for Minato, since Tobirama likely has 12 times Minato's chakra levels. I really think this fight comes more down to chakra and versatility than anything, and your hand seal statement is pointless when Rasengan is a close range attack, thus meaning it's highly telegraphed, being a loud glowing orb in comparison to some things Tobirama can also do with no hand signs. On top of this, Killer B was able to predict Minato and put him in a mutual death scenario. Tobirama, who is more than likely far smarter, stronger, faster, and better equipped to deal with Minato than B, is in a good position to do the same to end the fight. If B can get a mutual death, what can Tobirama do? Minato's mental nerf doesn't play a big role. And besides, what you're saying here seems to be more headcanon than actual fact. I can admit he was nerfed, for a while, but you seem to think Minato here, with the Nine Tails, is weaker than his regular self. However, that section about 6 Paths Madara is only in reference to how easily his Sage Mode is broken, not how well he did. It took 2 hits to knock Minato out of Sage Mode. I don't think Minato would beat up Madara. I mean, we literally saw Madara stomp Tobirama too, but that would happen to 99% of people who fought Madara. I'm not just disregarding Minato's Rasengan. Tobirama's water style can deal just as much, if not more, damage from longer ranges, and Tandem Paper Bomb can deal way more damage outright. This isn't disregarding Minato's Rasengan, just explaining how it's irrelevant in this fight because Tobirama casually outclasses him in attack potency. Tobirama can just as easily get Tandem Paper Bomb off while alive. In fact, it's easier for him because that's how he's used and practiced Tandem Paper Bomb. Summoning Edo Tensei is easy when he has Bringer of Darkness Genjutsu, Flying Raijin, and Shadow Clone / multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu. On top of this, Tobirama used ranged jutsu, meaning it's harder to close the distance for Minato to stop the reanimation jutsu. Tobirama's versatility does in fact play a big role in this fight. Saying it isn't applicable is very uneducated and underestimating the sheer power of versatility. I mean, we have 3 prime examples of versatility being tied to strength in some capacity. Obviously not one-to-one like any statistic, but we have Hiruzen being considered very powerful thanks to knowing all the Hiden Jutsu of Konoha, as well as mastery of all 5 nature chakras. The same as Tobirama. We have Orochimaru believing that more jutsus equals more strength, so he pursues learning all jutsu and praises Hiruzen. And we have Kakashi, who everyone feared because he copied over 1,000 jutsu, and that alone was enough for low Kage and Jonin tier fighters to fear him, in some degree. You simply cannot underestimate the value of versatility in Naruto. Good water style and Flying Raijin is just a start to what he has to beat Minato. He has genjutsu that seemingly cannot be countered conventionally, and Minato has no way to counter like Hiruzen did with the Hiden technique of the Inuzuka clan. On top of this, Tobirama has far more combat experience, and years in combat, as he had been fighting since his genuine childhood in real warfare, all the way until the day he died. He easily has double or triple the years spent in real combat, maybe even more. Tobirama already has a comparable level of speed in base, plus Flying Raijin is instant for both. Tobirama's water style can deal with a Rasengan better than a Rasengan can deal with the water style because elemental jutsu is stronger. Obviously not any elemental jutsu will be stronger, but Tobirama's high level water style should be able to contend with a Rasengan from Minato, especially with the range advantage. Minato's Flying Raijin technique that can teleport Bijou Bombs is entirely useless in this fight. It requires him to preemptively set up the seal for the attack to be sealed. And even then, Minato needs to have already avoided the attack or expected the attack, and be able to escape the danger for this to even work. Setting up the seal takes more time and chakra than just avoiding the attack in the first place. The only reason Minato uses it on Tailed Beast Bombs is to stop the large-scale damage and destruction, not because he can't dodge it. Against the water-severing wave, he wouldn't have the time, nor would it be practical to use a seal because it would both cost him more chakra and leave him susceptible for a follow-up attack from clones or a Flying Raijin attack. There are plenty of reasons as to why he can't just use the seal on a couple of random jutsus. Once again, he has a much more limited chakra reserve to keep in mind. Itachi used to be the guy everyone overestimated. But then, since that happened, now everyone just kind of poo-poos on him, you know? But now it's for sure Minato. From what I've seen and know, the vast majority of Naruto fans overestimate Minato by a considerable margin. Another small portion of that section are the crazy overestimations like Minato beats Hashirama or Madara. The real crazies who even think it's close. Then about 30% of those people are those who just believe that solely because they think Minato is cool or they just like him. Then a small portion of fans barely overestimate Minato at all. Then the rest, a very small portion, either fairly estimate him, or an even smaller amount underestimate him. Rasengan wasn't ignored. The Rasengan Minato has is just the normal one. He hasn't displayed any special variants of the Rasengan, including any more powerful variant. The basic Rasengan is far, far weaker than Tandem Paper Bomb or Tobirama's water style, which could cut several meters thick limbs of the God Tree, the actual God Tree. Looking here at the demonstrations of Rasengans without being held back, and here is Tandem Paper Bomb as well as demonstrations of the water style. Does this seem remotely even? And keep in mind the thickness of the wood, which was cut easily. And I have to say, nothing at all was ignored. It was just the arguments weren't really necessary because it's so clear cut. Tobirama has higher attack potency, relative speed, far higher versatility, way more chakra, comparable intelligence, and more combat experience. All of this combined leads to Tobirama being the winner, without a shadow of a doubt, besides bias. I want to say thank you to the viewer who made the complaints for me to respond to. There's so much content Kontetsu Kages are excited to bring to you, and hopefully many others. If you have any suggestions or feedback, comment below, and if you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing.